We'll call this August meeting, the State Boards of Pardons and Parole, to order. So good morning, everyone, and welcome everyone here. I guess you've noticed that we're a 4-member board today. Mr. Cotton is out on a military assignment on military leave, so he's not going to be joining us today. Let's see, is there any other remarks any of the other board members want to make before we continue our agenda? Welcome. I guess this would actually be your first official board meeting. You've done other board meetings, but as far as the policy board meeting, this is your first, isn't it, Jacqueline? Would you like to make any comments?
No, I'm just very excited about the opportunity to serve you gentlemen.
Excellent. Mr. Mills?
I just want to say welcome to Jacqueline, our new board member, and she's doing a great job already, and just going to help us be even a better board. We're glad to have you on board.
Brian? Okay, very good. All right, board chair is going to call on Miss Nita Cloud to offer prayer for us this morning.
Good morning to our Lord.
Morning.
Let us bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we come before you just excited to be in your presence this day, thanking you for life and for liberty. We ask your blessings upon these proceedings this day. We ask your blessings upon just this city, this state, and this nation, that you will provide peace in the coming years. So we thank you for what is already done. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Okay, before you, the first item of business is the approval of our agenda. You have your agendas before you. If you haven't already looked over those, do so, and the chair will accept the motion to approve at any time.
Move to approve.
Got a motion?
Second.
Got a second? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, we have an agenda that's approved. The second item is the adoption of the minutes from the May 3rd board meeting, which was a regular board meeting. Those minutes are in your folders. Also, they were emailed out to you. I'm assuming you've already looked over those. If there are no corrections or additions, is there a motion that we adopt?
Move we adopt.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye, and the ayes have it. The second item is the adoption of the minutes from a special call meeting, the meeting for clemency for John Wayne Connor. Those also were emailed to you and are in your folders. If there are no corrections or additions, is there a motion that we adopt?
Motion to adopt.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hearing the ayes have it. And I don't think we have any old business going forward at this time, so we'll look at new businesses, which will be the propositions for changes to our policies. I'll call on Chris Kemner to come and make that presentation.
Good morning.
Good morning.
First up,
See if I can get my policies together. So we're going to start with the board policy 1.102, which is the victim compensation program. Would you explain that to the board?
yes, sir. Board policy 1.102, victim compensation program. Title of field operations been changed to field services within this policy. Also under section 1.103, applicability, the term in Department of Community Supervision was added, so the policy applies to DCS employees as well. Section 1.105.2, the term under supervision of the board has been changed to on parole, and the term parole officer was replaced with simply officer, section 1.106.
Okay. Is there any questions from the board members of the change? If not, is there a motion that we adopt the change?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hearing no nays, policy has been adopted. The second policy revision is 2.101, the authorization to serve a board warrant and to arrest without a warrant.
Yes, sir. Board policy 2.101, again, field operations can change to field services within this policy. Under section 1.103, applicability, the term and Department of Community Supervision, parentheses DCS, was added as this policy also pertains to DCS officers' authority to serve court warrants. The term parole officers has been changed now to community supervision officers in section 1.105.3. In section 1.105.5, the term and/or sworn employee DCS has also been added. Section 1.106.1 has been removed, and any subsequent sections has been renumbered as a result. And also in that same section, field operations manual has been renamed to pardons and parole operations manual.
Okay, are there any questions? Mostly, as you can tell, all of these changes are still cleanup work from the Department of Community Supervision becoming its own entity and changing those names in our policies. Okay, is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. So our next item is policy 2.102, which is final revocation hearings.
Yes, sir. Board policy 2.102. Again, field operations has been changed to field services within this policy. Also, the term field operations officer has been removed and replaced with the current position title of district operations manager. In section 1.106.6, the term field operations manual was removed.
Once again, just changing the names to make them reflect accordingly. Is there a motion that we adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Next policy is 2.137, dealing with electronic monitoring.
2.137 electronic monitoring. The recommendation is to repeal this policy as it deals with the DCS function of supervising electronic monitoring cases.
Okay, I noticed that I skipped one. We'll go back to that in just a second. Is there any questions on, I got that one out of order, but any questions on 2.137? Is there a motion we adopt?
Move we adopt.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it. So going back now to 2.131, which I think I overlooked, dealing with the parole volunteer program.
Sir, recommendation for this policy, board policy 2.131, is also to repeal this policy as it's related to volunteers assisting employees under supervision, and this is a DCS function.
So you're offering this to the board to repeal entirely because it's now coming under the authority of DCS?
Correct.
Okay. Is there any questions? Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. All right. Policy number 2.140. Polygraphs and of special offenders.
So board policy 2.140, recommendation to repeal this policy, as this policy deals with the execution of conducting some polygraphs. The execution of such polygraphs of special offenders falls under the DCS.
Once again, this is making it for, obviously, since the board doesn't deal with the polygraphs, it would be for DCS's purview. Is there a motion to adopt?
Move we adopt.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Okay, board policy 3.101, psychological examination requirements.
So board policy 3.101, the term parole officers has now been changed to post-certified employees or post-certified throughout the policy. Also in section 1.106.1, the title regional director has been changed to division director as the RD position no longer exists.
Is there any questions? No questions. Is there a motion to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Policy provision 3.107, sections and promotion of personnel.
So board policy 3.107, term parole officer has been replaced with post-certified, and RD or legal director has been replaced with division director throughout the policy. Along with this change, the term board designee has also been added as well. Section 1.106.14.6, the phrase "in consultation with field operations division director" was removed. And in the following section, chief parole officer has been replaced with division director or designee. And the review of employment and personal history checks by the RD was removed as this position no longer exists. The parole officer was also replaced with division director in the following section. In section 1.106.18, locations to where the selection paperwork is to be submitted has been changed from the local district offices, which no longer exist, to being scanned to the unit itself. The entire section of 1.106.19 has been removed as it pertained to the promotion of POs and PO2. And subsequently, all affected subsections have been renumbered as a result. And finally, in section 1.106.20, the mention of chief parole officer position was also been removed.
Chris, I would just a little clarification. The word designee, that's new language we've not used. I think the only time I've seen it showing up is under paragraph C, polygraph testing. The word designee, is that new language, and can you help us understand
Sure.
those needs?
Designee is actually a term that's been used in several policies. I've come across several in various policies. But basically what it covers is if something is to be completed, for example, by the division director, it would also place designee after it, because if the division director is not available for some reason to do whatever function is that policy states the function is to be, the division director has the opportunity or the ability to designate someone to complete that task in their absence.
Okay. Is there any further questions from the members?
I know that after 1.106.19, because it's been renumbered, should 1.106.21 be renumbered to 1.106.20?
That should be correct. I think it was all affected sections are going to be remembered as a result. Is that not showing this to be?
It goes from 19 to 21 is what we're talking about. Yeah.
At the end.
In the policy itself?
The bottom of the page, the last two paragraphs, on page, what is it, page 10, yeah.
It looks like you're striking.
Oh, I see what you're saying,
Yeah.
right. No, it should be renumbered to 20.
Okay,
That was just a simple oversight on my part, but I did not cross it out.
that's fine.
So you have the authority to correct that without, that's
Absolutely,
just
yes, sir.
technical.
I mean, as long as we state it here,
Sure.
and we approve it, it will be fine. I'll just make sure the hard copy
It's renumbered.
reflected as such.
Yeah. Any further questions? Here's our motion that we adopt.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
I hear none. The ayes have it. Policy revision 3.108, personnel file management.
Board policy 3.108, section 1.106.9.1 is the removed from policy as it related to the storage and access of performance files for field staff. And all subsequent sections have been renumbered as a result.
Okay, any questions? Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Looks like we've got one more. Policy revision 3.124, workers' compensation.
This is board policy 3.124. The only change to this policy is that in section 1.106.4, the fax number to the Office of Human Resources was just simply updated to the new number.
Okay. Any questions? Is there a motion to adopt?
Move to adopt.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you. Anything further?
Nothing further.
No, thanks. Good work. Our executive director is actually off on leave with in a short family vacation, but the deputy director is going to speak on his behalf today. I think that's correct. Rita Rocker, you will make the director's report.
Thank you. Good morning, board.
Good morning.
Glad to be here today. We have a few things on the agenda for updates. The first one I want to start with is concerning the Georgia Professional Association and Community Supervision, or GPAC. As you know, the training session and seminar conference starts tomorrow. We have a few staff there today who are helping get things kicked off for that. But the big thing on that is that the GPACS Association is awarding for the very first time the first annual Patrick Price Community Impact Award. And I'm very proud to announce and pleased to say that we have two of our nominees here today. And if I could get both of you to stand up, please. We have Shalandra Robertson, our Director of Office of Victim Services, and also Ms. Anita Cloud, our Director of Community Affairs. And both of these, I'm hoping for a tie. That's what I'm hoping for, because both of these ladies are very deserving of this award. So we'll be very sitting on pins and needles to find out what happens with that.
Let's give them a great big hand.
And now, actually, I'm going to call on Anita Cloud, our Director of Community Affairs, to give us a quick update on our current projects, or a few of our current projects anyway.
Good morning again.
Good morning.
We are very excited about our back to school drive. As you notice in the executive suite, we now have 2 tables that are out that are full of school supplies for our underserved children. And hopefully by the end of August 15th, they'll be on the floor, they'll be all in your way. You won't be able to walk in there by the time we finish donating our school supplies. And we will then turn them over to Department of Family and Children's Services, who will then give them over to children who are in need of those items. We have our Kaiser Permanente 5K Run Walk coming up. I don't know if any of you participated last year that are in here today, but it's open now, and we are excited, and we're expecting that we'll all have a chance to participate. It's going to be a Turner Film, September 22nd, starting at 6:30. Early bird fee is only $27 per person. So we have team pardons and paroles. Hearing examiner Tiffany Clark is our captain. So again, we ask that you complete the corporate registration form and join us for an evening of fun and exercise. We have our book drive that's continuing. We will be making a delivery to Quitman, Georgia for the Brooks County Middle School, I think probably within the next 2 weeks. But the book drive is going to continue, and our hope is that we'll be able to expand it into other counties that have need of little libraries. And as we talk about it amongst ourselves, just understand your gently used books are very welcome, and that in turn completes my update on our events. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a special guest today, and I'm going to jump right into that right now. Very first thing I want to say is that I met this gentleman through a friend of mine from back home. Very, very good friend of mine, Sandra Lewis, who y'all all know is the painting studio lady. So that's how I met our guest today, and she knew he was deserving of some assistance from the board. And once I met him and talked to him and met his lovely family, which y'all stand up when I'm doing, we have Tanya, Ty, and Taylor. And of course, with Tommy on the end, and he's going to speak to us in just a few minutes. Thank you. So in your folders, you have a little sheet here. I'm going to take a minute to read it for the benefit of the audience. They do not have it, of course. But where I leave off, I'm kind of going to drift off in the middle of the sentence, and Tommy's going to come right on up and take over from there. So Tommy Lohman is the proud husband of his beautiful wife, Tanya, who you just met, and devoted dad to 2 wonderful kids, Ty, age 13, and daughter Taylor, 17. Due to the fact that felons have a hard time landing gainful employment, Tommy decided he would become an entrepreneur. His offenses in the past included robbery and possession of a controlled substance, and when he was released, he knew that that would be detrimental to his reentry into society. So therefore, he and Tanya operated several successful businesses shortly after his release from prison, And at the same time, he was working several part-time jobs, just to make ends meet and provide for his family. One of the businesses that he had was located in the small historic downtown area of Blackshear, which some of you may be familiar with. It happened to be the same town, where he was convicted of those offenses. While operating his business in the downtown area, Tommy became involved in community development and discovered a great need for public engagement. The part-time position opened up at the city of Blackshear for a Main Street manager. And at Tanya's encouragement, he applied for the position with the thoughts that he wouldn't be considered, due to the past felony convictions. I guess you could say he was wrong, but because he did start working for the city of Blackshear, it was a part-time position, and he was the Main Street manager. That happened all in the spring of 2008. Within 6 months on the job, Tommy started several successful initiatives and created a movement within the community that prompted the mayor and the council to make that a full-time position. So Tommy and Tanya sold the business so that he could immerse himself in the community of economic development. He rose quickly to the top of the profession and was asked to serve on the Georgia Downtown Association Board of Directors, where he later served in some other positions, and then eventually became president of the organization. Under his leadership, the Georgia Downtown Association hosted several statewide conferences and held multiple downtown development days at the Capitol. And I attended one of those, actually, and I have to say, Tommy had the governor there. And I was like going, wow, that's a big deal, when you can get the governor to walk over to the CLOB, no less, and attend your meeting. I was very impressed with that. But Tommy continued to work diligently to become a leader in the field and was rewarded by passing his exam to become a certified downtown development professional. And eventually he became the city of Blackshear's economic development director. In Blackshear, his organization was the recipient of many statewide awards for his community development efforts, including the statewide Emerging Leadership Award and Most Creative Fundraiser for an organization. In 2013, Tommy was asked to serve as one of Georgia's Forward Young Game Changers, a group of top young professionals under the age of 40 years of age and from across the state of Georgia. During Tommy's tenure in Blackshear, the Main Street program was responsible for filling over 17 vacant storefronts in the downtown district. They were awarded several grants, completed numerous development projects totaling millions of dollars of public-private investment, rebuilt the rundown community parks, raised funds for local school projects, built science labs, and of course they were published in the AJC and then also the Florida Times Union down that way, Blackshear's kind of South Georgia. So they were also in that paper too. They also raised thousands of dollars for local nonprofit organizations and many more. Tommy attributes his and the Main Street program's success during such rough economic times to the support of the city of Blackshear, the Main Street Board of Directors, and of course his family. Wanting to do more to help men in the community turn their lives around, Tommy went to the Pierce County Jail weekly to encourage the incarcerated men to keep moving forward and reminding them there's always hope to transform their lives. He made a commitment to his friend Kurt Johnson to participate in hosting Bible study once a week, which eventually became a men's ministry. The Bible study's been going strong for 10 years and has an average of 40 men every Thursday night. Sometimes with crowds of over 100 people, so that's really awesome. Tommy continues to serve on the board of the organization, which is Men of the Way Ministries. And it also grew so large that they have acquired 15 acres of land and constructed just a simple building to house their program, and then also to help families and create stronger churches, and which in turn creates stronger communities. Another board Tommy helped create and serve on is the Amherst Jam Foundation. which is a nonprofit group responsible for raising money to help families of children with rare diseases. Since its inception, the Amherst Jam Foundation has raised hundreds of thousands of dollars and helped countless families in their time of need. As a way of giving back to the community, Tommy participated in the local Dancing with the Stars, Southern Stars fundraiser for 2 years in a row. And in this event, he's paired with a professional dancer, and you've probably seen these before, so it's kind of like Dancing with the Stars, but somebody dances, Tommy has to learn the dance, and then they raise money, so that's a really fun event. But the money that they raise goes to support the Magnolia House, which is a local battered women's shelter. So in the spring of 2016, Tommy joined the Georgia Department of Community Affairs Office of Downtown Development as the Communications and Training Coordinator for the state. He's currently attending Darden College to obtain a degree in organizational leadership and will complete his economic development finance professional certification in 2017. So having received his degree and with his pardon in hand, Tommy is going to, come on up.
Thank you, Ms. Rita. Appreciate y'all having me. Rita asked would I come by and speak about how the pardon has affected my life and, you know, what I've done with it. I'll tell you that something that was really interesting to me when I started looking at applying for the pardon. I downloaded it, printed it off, filled it out a couple of times, and then I just set it on the desk because I didn't think it would happen, so I didn't really pursue it. And the list of things, some of the list of things she covered here in this paper, it just scratches the surface of the many things that God has allowed me to do since I've come home from prison. Most of that, the credit of that, would go to my lovely wife because she's pushy. No, she believes in me. Sometimes I don't believe in myself, but
That's great.
she pushed me to go to the city of Blackshear and apply. And of course, with the felonies, I said, it's a local government. They won't hire anybody with felonies. And so, but they did. We interviewed and they did. So she was right again. She's usually right. But, and if I had time to go through the entire story of my life, it's too long to tell today, for another time maybe. But I guess the first time I was in trouble with the law was at 6 years old. So I grew up in housing projects and mobile home parks and sometimes homeless, so we come up rough. But through the years and through going through some of that stuff, one of the best things that happened was when I got locked up in a county jail. It's the first time I read the Bible. So to me, that opened the door, which ultimately led to me getting saved. And I get emotional because it's a lot. But anyway, so I ended up getting saved, and the rest has been history. I mean, God's really opened a lot of doors. My wife has always been there, for me and pushing me. And I think one of the things that I wanted to touch on, because Rita helped me a lot, pushed me. She was pushy too, so she pushed me right on through the process and said, "Hey, fill it out, get it done, let's get it in there." And so she helped me do that. But I want to share with you guys as a board the impact that makes stretches far beyond the one person. So it means, first and foremost to my family, because if they're successful, I'm really a true success. So, but also the men's ministry has touched thousands of guys, and we started it because some guys weren't comfortable going to church, and a lot of them were coming out of jail and different things, and so we tried to give them a place to come, and it ended up being more than that. Now, anybody comes, but I mean, it's men, but they're dedicated, and they come, and they get fed, and then they go back to their churches, and they become productive members of their churches and communities, and they really start making a difference and a change. And so when I received a pardon, I was able to share with those guys, some of them that have been in trouble, and some of them that are trying to start their life over, and that said, this is great, but I got these felonies, and I can't do anything, and I don't know what I'm going to do, which to that's why we started the business, is because I didn't think I'd be able to get a good job. So I was like, I'm going to be successful. I'm just going to find a way to do it. So we started a business, and we did well. And it was a God thing that I moved into the city because I was able to help develop the entire community. Same community that I caused so much chaos in when I was young and stupid. So, but it was during all that stuff that I was able to share with these guys, give them hope too that it's possible. And not only there, but also Christian Family Center in Soperton, Georgia, is a rehab center. Men from jail end up there sometimes to transition back into society. There's a lot of different things that go on there, but it's more of a drug rehab facility. But I was able to share with them, and I spoke to thousands of guys that have come to that place, but that I was able to get my pardon, and that I was able to move on and put that part of my life behind me, only using it to maybe help somebody else in the future. But as I shared it with them, the director of that organization happened to be incarcerated before too, and had some things that he wanted to get a pardon. Well, just like me, he had the pardon filled out, sitting on his desk, and kind of just lacked the. He's like, I don't know if it'll work. So, sometimes it's crazy that we give up before we even try, but we do. So anyway, I called Rita again, put her on the spot, and I was like, hey, I got another guy here. Great guy. He's helped, a ton of folks, and so she was able to help him do what he needed to do to get his paperwork, and he was able to get his pardon. And so that you've done for him carries over to all the thousands of men that come through there, to let them know that just because you made a mistake doesn't mean that's the end of your life, and doesn't mean that you can't be productive. And what I'm doing now, as she said, is now that I have the pardon, I called my boss from the Office of Department of Community Affairs before I came over, and I said, how important was it that I had the pardon before I got the job? She said, well, we can work with your education, not having the formal education, because you have the work experience, and you have a proven track record of success and everything you've done. She said, but the criminal history, we can't help you there. So that you earned, you got it, it's yours. But with the pardon, we were able to put that, when they pulled it up and said pardon, and it didn't red flag anything, they were able to push right through. So I ended up getting the job, and the pardon had a lot to do with it. So what I would like to do now is carry on this process. Only God knows where I'll end up. The only limits I'm going to have are the ones I place on myself. So with all that being said, there's no telling where I could be, but I just want these guys to know that come from prison or that have been in trouble, that not only can you come out and exist, be a productive citizen, but you can go as far as you want to go. You can go, and all the dreams you had before all this stuff happened, you can go ahead and come back and achieve those dreams. And so I know you guys do a lot of different things. I know you're heavily involved in victim services and so many different parts of the Board of Pardon and Parole. But in this part, I just want you to know that you're giving people hope. And I appreciate the fact that you look at these cases with fresh eyes, because it would be hard even for me, a former convicted felon, to look at day in and day out at these cases that come through and say, not judge that single person by the actions of the whole, because the recidivism rate is great. People continue to go back. The last time I went to the Pierce County Jail to speak, the same guys that were in there, the ones that were there 15 years before, when I was locked up in that Pierce County Jail. So it's the same people keep going through the same things again and again. But there is a way to break the cycle. First and foremost, Jesus. Other than that, a very pushy and persistent wife. But I just appreciate what y'all do, and that y'all do look at it with fresh eyes. And then also, you're not just helping the person move up a little bit or move a little further in their career, but you're helping them make an impact and an impression in their family first, and also the communities and with other guys they come in contact with. So with that, I'm not gonna keep you guys any longer, but I appreciate y'all's time.
Sure. Would you take some questions before leaving, in case the board has some questions for you? Remind us again, I think the Rita told us, but what was your offense?
Well, like I said, started about 6 years old.
Mhm.
It was the first time I got in trouble with the police.
Mhm.
And I've had offenses here and there throughout. The two felonies that I had, one was a robbery by sudden snatching, and then the other one was a possession charge. So
Okay.
serious offenses.
Yeah. Wow. What year did you get your pardon?
2013. 13. What was funny was when I was in the CLOB over there, had the governor, Secretary of State, speaker, I had everybody there speaking on behalf of downtown development and our organization. And Rita was in the back of the room, and when she come back, she goes, "You don't know me," because we'd only talked over the phone and sent emails. And she said that I'm Rita Rocker. And I said, "Well, that's nice. I got a question for you." I had my pardon paperwork in my pocket. I said,
I was gonna tell that.
I pulled it out. I was like, "Can you tell me what this means?" Because I was still, curious as to what some of it meant. But to tell you I was proud to have it was an understatement.
Any other questions from the members?
How long, Tommy, I actually think I remember this when it came through, but how long after you've completed your sentence did you get your pardon? Do you remember?
I completed my sentence in 2005, I think. So it would have been 8 years.
So you'd completed all your probation, parole, and crime-free
parole.
for 8 years before you actually earned your pardon.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It was a process. My wife and I started talking about this, and I was like, it would have been nice to have this pardon when I first got home. I wouldn't have so much trouble, getting through some, things, because the fact that I went back to my hometown, because I figured if I could make it there, I can make it anywhere. The fact that I went there was good and bad. They all knew my criminal history.
Mm-hmm.
I've never hid from it, never ran from it. To this day, I don't. It is part of who I am. It's what led me to the Lord, so I'm glad for that.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, it got drug out into the newspapers. It was a smear campaign. My past was used to attack me. It was my past. It is what I did. I never ran from it. And so, like I said, it was good and bad that I went there. But I felt if I dealt with it there and moved forward, that I could deal with it anywhere.
Yeah. Other questions?
I just, Mr. Chairman, I just want to say, thank you for coming today, and thank you for what you've done. I know this is not the end of the story, but
Just the beginning.
it could have been real easy to choose another path, and the path that you've chosen is a much better life, and a much more wonderful life. And I know your son and daughter and wife, you got a lot to be proud of, and your dad has demonstrated that we're human beings and we're flawed human beings, and at some point in life we're all going to make a bad choice, a wrong decision, but it's what you do after you make that. And your dad has demonstrated to all of us you can recover, and I just want to say thank you and encourage you to keep it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate it.
For those who are actually in the audience that may not quite understand the process for actually earning a pardon by this board, you obviously have to be, number one, crime-free, done with all your probation, parole, and be crime-free for at least 5 years before you actually can apply. Then you've got to actually win the votes of 3 of 5 members on this board to actually be pardoned, and that is what you actually have done. And it's an amazing thing. Actually, when I look at your resume, Tommy, and see all that you're doing for the community, you actually put me to shame. I'm very community-minded too, but you're an amazing person. I thank you so much for your service to this state. You've certainly earned the right to be pardoned.
Thank you.
Sure.
Your new dad, Department of Community Affairs. a little paperweight with the parole board seal on it. So thank you so much. We
Thank you.
appreciate it. That's funny. I was gonna tell that same story. I was saving it for the end, but when I went over to CLOB, he literally opens up. Tommy literally opens this up. You know, he's like, "Look what I have right here," and he's like, "I carry it with me." He's so proud of it. So Tommy, thank you. We appreciate you being here, and also your family for being here today. Probably could be doing more fun things.
Thank you
School's
much.
starting back pretty soon, so. Since we've just talked about pardons and we've heard from Tommy, I'm gonna ask Carol Beans now if she'll come up for a little brief update on our pardon process.
Sure.
Yeah, as someone who's been so involved in recent changes, I'm thankful to hear a personal story. I get emails from people that we have given them to that have my email address, but I never hear that much detail, so thank you very much. As you'll recall, in February of 2015, we implemented a lot of changes to our pardon process. The biggest was the application itself, and you'll be happy to know that we went from a 3-page application to about a 17-page application, so your timing was pretty good there. The biggest change, one of the biggest changes there was we now have 2 applications, one for people seeking regular pardons and one for people who are serving on Georgia's sex offender registry. So we're looking at things from 2 different areas. A note of interest, we have, since we implemented that, have had no applications come in from people utilizing the new sex offender application. So we expect them, but we haven't yet. So last fiscal year, we received 1,479 applications that came in. That was actually 500 down from the prior fiscal year, but I attribute that to the fact that the application is now more cumbersome, and that's part of it. But you voted 883 cases. That's up 360 from the year before. So you're reading more of them, longer ones, and more of them. And like I said, the application process itself is more involved because we're requiring more information from the applicant now than we did before. In April of 2015, we also began sending out DA notifications per the law. We actually started it before the law became the law. And to date, when I ran the numbers for the presentation I did for Ms. Bunn, I think we had sent out 1,450 DA notifications at that time and had received, we're maintaining about an average of 7% protests from DAs around the state on what we send out. The application process is still, the pardon process is still not electronic, unfortunately, like everything else that you do. I've been promised that we're working in that direction to get it there. Now, what we have done, though, is we've begun scanning all closed files and then destroying them, so we're reducing our presence on the 4th floor, which is good. We also, prior to about a year ago, had no database of comprehensive database of all of the pardons, restorations, and firearms restorations that you have voted on, which presented a problem because we get requests all the time from people wanting to know, and if you didn't have a date, we couldn't find it. So my staff and I have started building, and I believe we are roughly 85 forward, having a comprehensive database on all civil and political rights, pardons, and firearms restoration. So we can, with a name now, we can go in, and before we had to have a name and a date before we could put our hands on it. And one last thing I wanted to bring up, I met a few months ago with the Superior Court Clerks Council because they've been tasked, I believe, by next year of coming up with a comprehensive, clean list of jurors for the state of Georgia. You see it in the news all the time. They're having trouble, people that are not supposed to be on the list that are, and vice versa. And our part in that is when we have issued civil and political rights and we give somebody back a right to serve on a jury, there's no list out there. So we have put some processes in place to help them build that, and I think about 6 or 8 months from now they're going to pull the trigger on that. So we've got our hands in that too. So, and the last thing I wanted to say is that the process is changing, and like I told Ms. Bunn, we've made some changes to our process and how we do it just from input from some individual board members. As you read our investigations, please let me or Linda downstairs know if you want anything changed, because we will make that change for you. Any questions?
Carol, you and your team have done a remarkable job helping the board worked through these processes over the years. This has been something that we've been dealing with for probably 6 years now as we've improved the process. It's interesting. So I hadn't done the math, but you said 1,479 applicants come in, and the board pardoned 883. What is that?
No, you voted that many.
We voted that many.
You pardoned, and that was all types of pardons, 684, and took no action on 196. So that was just how many you put pen to paper on.
So that's less than 50% that actually got pardoned out of the 1,479.
Now, some of that 14, those were the applications that came into us. Some of them are not eligible.
Sure.
They don't meet time requirements.
I
Or any of
understand.
another thing, or they didn't send in all their stuff and they're still in process. That's just the actual number of individuals who made applications.
Yeah, okay. Well, I was just trying to, I didn't actually even know the numbers. I just saw in a publication down in Chatham County where maybe a DA was misinforming the public and stated that the board pardoned 99%. I have no clue where she got that information, but you've actually verified that. Thank
No,
you.
it's certainly nowhere near that.
Thank you much.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I thought I heard you say just over 1,400 pardons that were sent out to district attorneys.
1,450 notifications.
Yes, and 7% were protested,
Yes, sir.
which means 93% of the time, even the district attorneys were either silent to what we were doing or supportive of what we were doing
Yes, sir.
in the way of pardons.
Yes, sir. And I've got the statistics on where they're coming from, where the majority of those are coming from, and it's actually only 3 circuits that send the majority of them. So, and another thing, of the 7% that are protested, you only grant 18% over that. So when the DA does make a protest, 18% of those, the times you grant anyway, but the rest of the time you don't. So we're listening to what's coming in from.
Amazing. Any further questions? Lots of good report. Thanks for the help.
Thank you.
Mhm.
With that, unless you have any questions, and Chris will be back tomorrow if you do. So we're complete with our report.
Rita, you've done an excellent job with your report. Maybe we should have you do it more often because you brought in some very helpful information to the board. Thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman, could we get a copy of Carol's report on the pardons just to
Yes,
the
sir.
board? That would be good, thank you.
Yeah, this is actually new information. The board had not even gotten this information. We're all receiving it at the same time today, by the way. Thank you.
Right, we'll be sure you have that report.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move to our general public comment sections. I will mention that the board will not take comments on any specific vendors at this time, but if you do have comments on a specific vendor or questions, we have a call center set up, and that phone number is 404-656-4661. But if you have comments on any item that we've discussed during today's board meeting, the board is interested in hearing those comments at this time. Is there anyone wishing to make those comments? Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to, gentlemen, know I'm so impressed with how he changed his life. My son, he's at prison, and it gives me hope, and my son also, to know that, there's hope out there. And you should be really proud in your family, too. God bless you.
Thank you. Any further comments? Then I guess this concludes our business for today. And is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second?
There's a second, and then we'll stand adjourned.